Hi everyone. Well, it has been just under 2 weeks since Hurricane Harvey hit the Texas coast, and I wanted to spend just a few moments today and talk about a few predictions I see on how the hurricane could be impacting the Austin real estate market in the coming months and year ahead. And I know, like many of you, maybe all of you, we know somebody that was directly impacted by this storm, whether they live in Port Aransas or Rockport and Fulton, Houston, Beaumont, those that have been affected by flooding, those have been maybe lost their home as a result of the hurricane. And the amount of economic damage is still hard to wrap our head around. But I want to start by sharing a few statistics with you that I find really interesting and are still really difficult to fully comprehend the impact they're going to have on our state and on our region in the months and years to come. So right now, the Houston, Beaumont area, in terms of GDP, how much they contribute economically to our country, Forbes says that the Houston GDP is $503 billion. Now, to put that into context, the country of Sweden is $511 billion. So this isn't Texas, this is just Houston, Beaumont, contributes almost as much GDP as the entire country of Sweden. And now imagine this massive storm has moved in and completely disrupted the entire economy of that area. That doesn't even include Rockport and Port A and Fulton and some of those other coastal areas and areas in Central and South Texas that were affected by flooding. The damage estimates right now for this area, for South Texas, Houston, Beaumont, and the coastal cities that got damaged, is between $100 and $190 billion. Again, these are numbers that are so large, it's really hard to determine where all this money is going to come from. Obviously, the government right now is just now starting to pass some funding relief for these areas, but again, it's going to come from corporate dollars, it's going to come from the nonprofit sector, it might even come from some foreign countries who contribute, and of course a lot of it's going to come from you and me, and more importantly, all the residents that live along that area. Right now, they're estimating over 100,000 homes have been damaged or destroyed. That's an entire middle-sized city in America with homes that have been damaged and destroyed. And what's even harder to deal with is if, let's say you're a Houston homeowner, you have a home that got 5 feet of water in your house. Well, if you don't have flood insurance, not only are you left with the home where you're going to have to contribute all the dollars to bring this home back to a livable condition, which you're probably going to have to gut the first floor, you're going to have to throw out all your personal and memorable belongings that you had, you might have to fight off toxic mold, but you have to spend all that money. And unfortunately, regular homeowners insurance does not cover flood insurance. The latest statistic I saw is that up to 80% of the people impacted by flooding may not have flood insurance. So just imagine the amount of money that every family, every person is going to have to dish out, if they can, to bring those properties back to life. And if, I don't want to say we forgot, but because there's been so much media attention on Houston and Beaumont and those areas, we kind of forget how bad Rockport, Fulton, Port A, Angleton, all these communities that are west of Houston, down along the coastline, are many of them nearly completely destroyed. So they're also going to have to be completely rebuilt. And then, of course, let's throw in vehicles. I saw a statistic this morning that 500,000 cars have been lost as a result of flooding. 500,000 cars. So just imagine the demand now that there's going to be on replacing those cars. So those are just some of the high-level statistics of the impact we've had just here along the Texas coast. And let's not forget, there's another hurricane bearing down on Florida and the whole Caribbean region right now. It's even hard to predict how much impact that's going to cause. But let's just talk about Texas for a moment. So here in Austin, we are blessed, and in San Antonio, blessed that this hurricane did not really cause that much damage in our area. We got a lot of rain in the Austin area. Obviously, there's communities east of us, LaGrange and Smithville, that saw very significant flooding, but the Austin metro area was mainly spared, and I'm very thankful for that. The challenge now is going to be, how does all of this economic destruction just a few hours from here impact our real estate market? So the questions that I was thinking of is, number one, how do you assess the value of Houston and Beaumont's flooded neighborhoods moving forward? And what are those people going to do? Are they going to stay in Houston? Are they going to move to a new city? What happens to their company? What if that company can't reopen? If it can't reopen and now the employees don't get paychecks, are they going to start to be evicted and have to foreclose on their homes? How many people are going to consider moving to a new area? So in terms of the Austin area, really the short-term impact is focusing on what I would call temporary residents. These might be people that move up from the coastline and decide to make residence here in Austin for 6 months or a year. With Austin, we have a very expensive market for Texas. So if you're moving from the Houston area, Austin seems like a very expensive place to go. And we've already got high demand for our rental market. I think we're somewhere around 96% occupancy. So it's not like there's a ton of units that can be rented by other folks. So while I see there could be some impact, I would not predict at this time, and this is personal opinion, that we're going to see this massive wave of people coming up from Houston. I think we will see some. I think most of them will want to rent for a time period while they get their feet back in order and their lives back in order along the coastline. And then I would assume they would want to move back to that area because of friends and family and their employment. There might be an increase in a few buyers, but again, our market's more expensive than Houston, and couple that with the fact that a lot of the people may not be getting insurance money. It's going to be hard for them economically to make a move and still have to deal with a property in Houston. So at least in terms of a renting and buying standpoint, I'm not sure we're going to see a massive wave come this way. I think it will spread out across a larger area. The biggest impact we're going to see over the next coming months, and especially year ahead, I think is going to be the cost of labor and cost of supplies. We had an economist come into our office yesterday. His name's Mark Sprague with Chicago Title. And what Mark shared, his prediction was we could see the cost of labor rise at least 20% over the next 12 months. Why? It's pretty simple. You now have an entire area that's going to need just a catastrophic level of demand, a seismic level of demand for skilled labor to go down and help all these homes rebuild, help these homeowners rebuild, businesses rebuild, big construction projects, commercial all the way down to residential. And what that means is a lot of that talent pool is going to come from Central Texas. Well, if the talent pool then starts to shift towards Houston, well, then the skilled labor that remains here is going to do what? They're going to raise their prices because they're going to be in high demand. So not only homeowners that are doing remodeling projects, people that are going to be working on their homes are going to be needing to pay a higher price for that skilled labor. And the same goes for supplies. So again, 100,000 homes destroyed. That's literally remodeling 100,000 homes, not even including new builds that were already planned or new builds that may be needed as a result of having to rehouse all the people that have been impacted on this storm. In Austin, I think one of the challenges we're going to have is if you are interested in new construction, if you want to buy a new house, those home builders are going to be fighting the higher cost of labor and higher cost of supplies, which means the cost of those new build homes is going to rise. So I would predict that we're going to see the cost of new construction and new homes rise in the Austin area over the next 12 months. And of course, you also have automobiles. I know it's not housing, but they kind of go hand in hand in Texas. If you buy a house, you're going to need a car to drive to work to go get what you need. And 500,000 cars, disappearing off the roads in Houston means there's going to be a big premium, not only on new cars, but I think especially on functioning used cars. The ones that did not get damaged by the storm, which many of those are in our area, there's going to be a high premium on replacing their former vehicles along the coast and in South Texas with a car that works. And if they don't want to pay for a new car price, they're going to be looking for used, and I think the cost of a used car is going to greatly increase. A couple things I don't think that are going to change that much are the macroeconomic factors that don't have anything to do with the hurricane. I think interest rates, we've talked about those before. Right now you're looking at around 4%. That really has to do more with supply and demand in the financial markets and also with the Federal Reserve. I know they're scheduled to look at raising rates again later this year. But again, that's kind of a slow upward trend. I don't think the hurricane itself is going to play a huge impact on those rates. But I'd love your thoughts. I'd love to know what you think. I think in Austin, again, we are blessed that this hurricane did not bring more damage to our area. And of course, our thoughts, and I know everybody out there has been supporting those. Please keep supporting those along the coastline in the Houston area. And coming soon, God forbid, this hurricane impacts Florida as well. There's a lot of love that needs to be going around to those that live along the coasts. But again, I'd love to know what you think. I hope you find this helpful. And if you know anybody looking to buy or sell in the Austin area, now is a great time before interest rates rise and of course the cost of labor and supplies goes up. So if you know anybody looking in the area, I'd love to be your Austin real estate resource.